about the PGA Tour season and the WM Phoenix Open. And we also got other stuff since it's a big week. We got the Super Bowl, the Olympics are starting in Milan Cortina, so lots of great stuff to get to. So Nick, what's the first topic we got on tap for this illustrious morning of sports talk?
Well, I think we got to start first and foremost with Scotty Scheffler versus the field, honestly, this week. The world number one is an overwhelming favorite right now in sports books after his dominant 20th career win at the Amex 2 weeks ago. The question that remains, is he playing against the field or just himself, honestly? So let me get your take.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard. There's been so many people who have won this tournament over the years. You know, Thomas Pieters won it last year. I'm curious to see how rusty Brooks Koepka is because he hasn't been here in a few years. Last won it in 21. So it's kind of interesting. And, you know, he isn't right now, I don't think, the number one because of the season right now, but in terms of FedEx Cup point standings. But in terms of the world number one, yes, and it is going to be an interesting week, and I'm excited. I think Scotty does have a great shot of winning it, but yeah, leading into that, if you didn't already hear, LIV had lost a couple players, one of whom is Brooks Koepka. The PGA Tour set a big, hefty requirement for people to come back, and they have to take a lot of penalties in terms of how much they can win with the overall earnings in the tournament and the bonuses. So if Koepka does win, he isn't going to get as much as a normal tour player would get. But yeah, what is your thoughts on his return, and do you think he has a good shot this week since he was your 2021 champ?
Well, I would like to say that it's great to see him on the PGA Tour, back on the PGA Tour again. As for this week, I mean, he definitely showed some signs of rust at the Farmers Insurance. He made the cut, which is great, but, you know, Brooks Koepka doesn't play to make cuts. He plays to win tournaments. You know, I think he fits this course very well. TPC Scottsdale really favors people that fade the ball, and he's an active player that moves it from left to right. So I'm very comfortable with his odds on this course, and this is definitely a course he can win at. As for the form he's in, I mean, he showed, again, like I said, he showed some signs of rust, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he has in store for us this week. Working very hard on his game. He's got a lot of fire in him to come out and play well, especially, you know, being outside the PGA Tour for so long. So, you know, especially with all these young guns, it's going to be a very interesting week to see Brooks Koepka play.
It is, and the interesting thing that I took away was he did a interview with the reporter for CBS, and he basically said that there's so many, he's like, half the guys he knows and half the guys he doesn't. There's been a lot of, maybe not turnover, but it's a lot of young guys coming up on the tour. Just to name a few, Sahith Theegala, Ashke Bhatia, Minwoo Lee, Victor Hovland. There's a bunch of guys who are now prominent guys on this tour and young and upcomers, as I'll call them, and he doesn't know them. And that's not a bad thing. You'll get to know them as season goes on, but he may not have them so much on their radar, and maybe, you know, I think an interesting thing that I'm curious, and you being a former college golfer, is the question that I want to know is, do you think that not knowing, let me rephrase it, do you think players on the PGA Tour have to read into how other people play and how they would fare on a course to kind of know your competition? And does it make it a little bit harder because, you know, not necessarily saying everyone's going to play in each tournament, but do you think that not knowing half the guys is a bit of a disadvantage because you can't know how one would fare in a tournament?
Well, I think personally, from my personal experience, you know, playing in college and stuff like that, that I don't have experience on tour to say, like, if there's a big jump up from what I do know, and that is that, you know, when you show up on a golf course for the first time, you're always looking at people that have played it before, people who've had success there. So you're going to always look as a PGA rookie, and you're going to look at guys like Scheffler, Koepka, Matsuyama. You're going to look at guys like that who have succeeded at a very high level at this golf course. You're going to always look at those guys. As for the rookies on tour, I mean, they're all super talented. They're all coming. They're young. They're talented. It's not a question if they have the ability to succeed and score well, but it's more of a question of how are they going to adapt, which I think is what you mentioned. And I think they will adapt. I think it's just going to take some time. The rookie gap on tour, there's so many, you know, young guys, and they're all, you know, coming up. It's very difficult to separate yourself from the pack, I would say.
Yeah.
That is a very important thing. And, you're always paying attention to, green speed, sloping, any little thing you can get, anything down to just honestly just like knowing, where to miss and where not to miss, not leaving yourself short-sighted on, tough pins. Like, for example, I mean, you don't want to leave yourself short-sighted on 17 if you're on the right. I mean, that's a really tough chip shot. So you're going to look to the young guys are going to look to these guys this week, and they're going to be thinking to themselves, how can I improve? Especially, you got so many great examples this week of guys who have succeeded on tour.
Definitely.
It's a very good week as a young professional to learn.
It is, and I want your take since you've played this course before. Last week's Farmer Insurance Open at Torrey Pines, looking at the scores, you had coming in second was a three-way tie between Pearson, Cootie, Ryo, Hisatune, and Siwoo Kim. They were all at 16 under, but Justin Rose was clear and above at 23 under par, and he also kept that lead for a significant portion. So, in your opinion, the question was asked to him, but I want your take. How hard is it to keep a lead? And is TPC Scottsdale a course where you could see someone consistently keep a lead and win by as many strokes as he did here this week, or just any time?
Well, the number one thing with TPC Scottsdale is you always got to keep your foot on the gas. That's number one. There's going to be a lot of birdies out there, and if I had to say the three keys that you're going to see this week, number one is you're going to see a lot of fades, a lot of balls moving from left to right, because a lot of the trouble at TPC Scottsdale is out to the left. You do not want to be left on this golf course most of the week. As for number two, you're going to see a lot of low chipping, a lot of short little spinners. You're going to see guys are going to be trying to chip it close, and they're going to be aggressive to most of these pin locations. They're not going to be holding back and playing it safe to a slope. They're going to be going after most of these pins because TPC Scottsdale does not have a ton of slope. It's not one of those courses that's going to really get you there. And then the third, and I would say probably the most important thing, is birdie conversion. You're going to see a lot of guys. They're going to have to be very aggressive around the greens and on the greens. And it's who's going to be able to convert the most on the opportunities that they give themselves, because this course is going to give you opportunities. That's going to be a given. So the question is can you convert on the opportunities that have been given to you? Now, as for like comparing last week to this week, I mean, Torrey Pines is honestly a lot different from TPC. Torrey plays really long. It's at sea level.
Yeah.
The coastal air is just you can really feel a difference versus here, where it's kind of like a drier, calm. Like it's like a calmer atmosphere versus Torrey. The wind picks up a lot. It's a big difference, and I would compare it more to where Scheffler played 2 weeks ago, where he won at the American Express at PGA West. That is a very similar golf course to what they're playing this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the best comparison. And I mean, to end my point, I would say, like, if you're looking at, for example, like who is going to run away with this event? Is someone going to run away with this event? And on this course, no one really truly runs away, in my opinion. You're gonna have a guy that can get to be 6 up, 7 up, but this is a course where someone can make 5 or 6 birdies in a row, and they can make a run on the back nine. I mean, this back nine is very gettable for most of these guys. 10, 11 for a lot of these guys have been reduced to wedges. 13's a drivable par 5. 14's really the only long hole on the backside. Then you got 15, 17, 18, and all those, if you hit good tee shots, I mean, you're in prime position to make birdies. So it's just going to be a shootout this week, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Expect to see low scores.
Yeah, and you always have to deal with the pressure because, and we'll get into this later on in the program today, but they've changed some of the rules and stuff with how they're conducting and managing the Coliseum, the famous 16th hole, and so that's a different way to go about it. And, I've seen people like throwing, beer and all sorts of other stuff onto the course. They're making beer snakes, they're hooting and hollering, and, some players really love it and, vibe with it. I mean, we've seen on the LIV tour a few years ago, I remember, watching their tour stop in Australia, and they had a similar thing that they called the watering hole. And, you had players coming out, with walkout songs. Like one guy, I'm trying to remember his name, he came out to Coil Ray, and other stuff. So I think, that atmosphere, some people love, kind of the mutedness where you can just hit a shot and then the crowd can just roar for you, or it's loud the entire time. So I think that's going to be interesting. But like I said, Brooks Koepka is back on the tour. He came over from LIV, and he's one of the people who's doing it. Also, Patrick Reed is coming back too. Now, his return is going to be later in the year. He's going to be in the interim doing some DP World Tour play before he comes back more for the PGA Tour fall tournament, and then doing some regular season stuff next year. But do you think that the penalties and the cuts they have to take are too high? And how do you think he will look this week?
No, I think that the penalties that they're going to have to take, they have to take some form of penalty for going to live.
Absolutely.
You can't have your cake and eat it too. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I really do like what the PGA Tour did with Brooks, where reportedly he had to pay $5 million to charity. And I think that's an extremely honorable and, noble thing. If that, whoever came up with that, I think that's an extremely noble thing to do. Yeah, hats off to them. I think that was a great addition. And, I think it's a great segue. I think you got to have some parameters where you can't just let people that were signed on Live Tour, no offense to Michael Asasso or Caleb Surratt. I'm not saying they don't deserve necessarily to be on tour. I'm just saying you can only really let in guys that have won majors, and maybe have some exemptions with either really, really good play on Live, like Joaquin Niemann comes to mind. Yes. Or someone that's had really high success on the PGA Tour, maybe just hasn't gotten it done. Now, what I found really interesting when they announced the criteria is that they kept it specifically from 2022 on down, and they avoided 2021. The reason why that's big is because Phil Mickelson won the 2021 PGA Championship, and he was not, on the exemption criteria, since the exemption criteria only counted 2022. So that to me is a sign that the PGA Tour has made that they're not just willing to take anyone back. They're looking to bring their big stars, young stars back, and I think that's great. I think as for punishment, is it too big, or is it not enough? I think it's just right. I think just to give away to charity, and kind of just maybe a small I think Brooks also can't make money off of PIP and a couple other things.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. I think that's totally worth it.
I think it's totally fair because personally, I'm going to put this out there. I ain't a fan of LIV. I mean, I think the team concept of golf is not a bad approach to it. You're seeing it in other leagues too. For example, the X Games, they, for example, are starting a new X Games league where, the skiers and snowboarders can still win their individual titles, but it'll go for their points, and you're going to see it for summer and winter X Games starting this summer. And so I like what you see with the team kind of concept, and we see this in golf with the grass leagues, which is coming back this year. Shout out to you for being a free agent in that. Best of luck. But in any case, I really do think that the penalties that he has to take are very appropriate, because personally, one reason I don't like LIV is I did a whole project about this my senior year of high school, my second semester for my English class. They're doing sports washing because, to just put it for people who aren't familiar with that, sports washing is when a country or an organization uses sports as a way to overshadow something they're doing, and they have a lot of human rights violations and other issues. And so that Saudi money ain't really clean money. I understand people are doing it for the money or other reasons, but I think coming back to the PGA Tour, which is a long mainstay, it's been here for a while, I think it's very good, but you need to work your way back. It's not like, we're going to welcome you with open arms, here's a hug. No, we'll be friendly and give you that handshake when your time is right, but you got to work for it. I know other people like Dustin Johnson committed his, allegiance to LIV, and I respect that, and, he'll do fine, but it also comes down to, revenue, and you're looking at the TV sponsors. I mean, you're on FS1, and, you even had to have a tournament start on Fox Business? Who really watches Fox Business, or even FS2 for that matter? So, and it was on the CW at first. So, I mean, it's not where the PGA Tour is, but I just think that there's more to it than just the golfers going over and, the lavish tournaments you're getting, with the watering hole and all that stuff.
And I genuinely think, too, with the LIV golfers, it's not just the money, too. I think that a lot of the guys they target, especially in the early stages, Sergio, Phil, Lee Westwood,
John Rahm.
Martin Keimer. No, not John Rahm. I was going to make John Rahm's a different case. John Rahm, they needed a young superstar. They target a lot of older superstars that, you know, they're out of their prime and they're heading into a point of their career where they're not going to be able to compete on the PGA Tour anymore, just because, you know, they're getting up there in age, and that happens. And look, they're going to do what they think is right for their families, and I totally get that. That's, you know, that's one thing that, you know, you got to understand, is that they're just trying to look out for their families and their children and etc. But, you know, it will be looked upon, you know, it will be looked upon in a different light than when they were on the PGA Tour 100%.
Mm-hmm. So getting into our next topic here, kind of our next topic, if you look at those World Golf rankings, they're very different in 2026. Taking some examples, you got J.J. Spawn, number 7. You have the Open champ Ben Griffin, number 8, who has 3 wins in the last 12 months. And if you even look at the FedEx Cup standings right now, that field is really quite interesting too, with number 1 being Chris Gotterup, and Ryan Gerard is your second. So we're getting some new faces, or people who, you know, you might not have always seen at the top, kind of gaining their way up there. And so how do you feel about seeing this new crop of people up there? And personally, I think it's great. Not to say that we're, you know, shunning the Spieths, the Rorys, all the other players from being out of that. If they certainly, you know, do win these competitions, respect to them, and they can make it up. But I think it's great because we're seeing these new players really take advantage and claiming their mark. Or the better way to put it is, you are here to play some golf, and they're playing and putting their hearts out, and they're like, I'm here to play, I'm here to win, let's go, let's have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, you look at J.J. Spawn, who won the U.S. Open this past year in dramatic fashion, making that really long putt. I think it was like 75 feet on 18 green.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, incredible win by J.J. Spawn. And, you know, Ben Griffin has put together a hell of a year last year, overshadowed by the likes of, you know, McIlroy and Scheffler. But, I mean, it was still a fantastic season, and he has a lot to be proud of regardless, especially for someone who, you know, admitted recently, like, he gave up on golf like 4 or 5 years ago. He was not doing golf, and, you know, he came back, and he's become, you know, a mainstay on the PGA Tour now. As for them being, you know, household names, I think JJ Spawn is bordering on that territory. I think he needs to win another major, or at least win some more tour events. I mean, not to say his resume isn't impressive at all.
No,
that's not what I'm saying.
No.
Fantastic resume.
Yeah.
I mean, played in the Ryder Cup this year. I mean, guy's a true. He's a grinder. I mean, he got into a playoff with McIlroy at the Players. You know, pushed him to the brink. I mean, did that playoff go the way you wanted to? No. But did he give it his all? Did he play really well that week? Yeah, he played great. I mean, if someone said at the end of the week you're in a playoff with McIlroy, final 3 holes to win the Players, I guarantee you like 99% of the PGA Tour would be like hands on deck for that. Ben Griffin, he probably needs a major. He needs a signature win. I mean, like, not to say that winning on the PGA Tour is easy. That's not what I'm saying. But like, he probably needs a signature win, something that, you know, like, will be remembered thoroughly through golf history. He needs like an Open, a U.S. Open, something like that. Even like a green jacket, something that can really separate himself from the pack. But both guys are fantastic golfers, and yeah, the rankings have changed a lot over the past year. I mean, you look at what has shifted. Besides Scheffler, I mean, like, a lot of these young guys, I mean, like, you look at, like, you know, Chris Gotterup, who last year came out in shocking fashion. He won the Genesis Scottish Open, and that was a huge win for him in his bolster. And then this year, he just won the Sony Open in Hawaii, and he looks like a mainstay on the PGA Tour. He looks like a fantastic golfer that's gonna, you know, stick around. I mean, you look at guys, you know, comparing that to veteran like Siwoo Kim, who has played also fantastic over the past couple events. I mean, he finished second at the Amex, and then he finished second at the Farmers. So, I mean, Siwoo's also putting together fantastic rounds, and you know, these guys that are just, you know, I wouldn't call them borderline household names on the PGA Tour, because, you know, they're all respectable, but a lot of these guys, they're just one big win away from being, you know, in the talking of, you know, being like a Hideki or, you know,
exactly,
something like that. One major away.
And the best way I like to think about it is, this can go for a lot of things, like sports or music, and I'll use music as an analogy. It kind of, and personally for me, it feels cool when you know about an artist or you know about somebody, and the next thing you know, they're blowing up on social media, or they're, becoming the next big thing. And same can be said about golf. If you really like, someone's swing, and I'm going to use just someone random, let's say that you are a big Sahith Theegala fan, for example, and you really like his swing, and he starts winning a few tournaments, and in a few years' time, we see him consistently in the top, say 5 people, he might become a household name. And to know that you were a fan of him back when he was, gaining that momentum, that's cool to see, and that's what I like about sports. And same can be said about NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, no matter what. And I really do think that's a great thing. Or maybe you follow a Corn Ferry guy because he's, from your town, and next thing you know, he blows up too. So just being a fan of sports and being a fan of these athletes is really cool, a cool feeling, because you never know who's gonna explode onto the scene at the next moment and be that one that's like, hey, I know him, or I was a fan of him back when he did this. That might have been little at the time, but really helped get them to X place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you look at the guys that are coming up on tour. You look at Sahith Theegala. I mean, like, he has a fantastic track record at this tournament, and someone that, as of late hasn't played necessarily that great, but these guys are always one tournament away from flipping the script. I mean, Sahith has played well here. He's got a game that really favors TPC. He has that fade that I mentioned. He hits a fade. He's a great short game, great putter. I mean, he can definitely succeed at this golf course. And one thing I would like to point out is that I just look across the board at this week's field, and you see a lot of young guys that, they don't have a PGA Tour win yet, but I guarantee you're going to see in a couple of years a lot of these guys. Like, I'll name a couple, like Carl Phillips, I think is definitely. I mean, I'm going to bring up Batia. I know Batia's won, but like, he still is, kind of been silent. And Batia was a great junior golfer. He skipped going to college. He said, I'm just going to bet on myself and go professional. And man, he's done a great job of just sticking to his what he thinks is best for him, and he has played amazing so far. And I just think that it's just a really good story this week for a lot of these guys, and looking forward to see what this week unfolds.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great week of golf. I mean, it's always fun, and I don't know. Being someone who watches golf, you don't really think about it. When you're at a tournament, it's a week-long thing. Like, we're here on a Tuesday, and there are hundreds of people here on a Tuesday to see the course, do media stuff like we're doing, or maybe they're going and watching the Pro-Am, or people, chip and putt and get ready for the tournament. So even if you're just going to like a Sunday of an event, a Saturday, whatever, there is stuff going on all week long, and there is stuff on and off the course, and it's a week-long event, kind of like the Super Bowl, and it's awesome. But one of the other things is, and this is something that I mentioned last week, is, as we know, with the Farmers Insurance, Justin Rose, 23 under par, was the score to beat next best 3 people tied for second. We're at 16 under, and we aren't seeing a lot of people like him, or maybe say Rory, in this field. And as you were saying coming up, people have said that, oh, this is a perfect course for Rory. He kind of matches his playing style, but is it the noise, or is it just the, being in the desert? What do you think it is why people say, I'm opting out of this, I'm not really feeling the waste management, and, moving to the next one?
Well, I think that first and foremost, a lot of it comes down to scheduling. I think that's a big thing. I don't think these guys necessarily dislike the loud crowds and the fans. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think a lot of the time it just comes down to scheduling. You gotta save time to be with your family, be with your kids, and get your game ready. You look at the events that are coming up. You got like the Genesis, and the Players. You're building up to that East Coast swing, and a lot of these guys live on the East Coast, so they're picking and choosing their events on the West Coast. They don't want to spend too much time out here if they live on the East Coast, because it's just not it's not a right fit to be too far away from home for too long. You saw that with Scotty Scheffler, for example, last week with the Farmers Insurance. Scotty didn't play in the Farmers Insurance. He chose to skip that and decided to play in this event. I mean, it's just kind of like, it's something with scheduling. Now, as for, why, a lot of notable European Tour players are not playing, maybe that has something to do with the Ryder Cup, this past year being, too rowdy and anxious, and, the Waste Management has been compared to like a mini Ryder Cup in that setting where there are a lot of fans and they're going to be loud. They're going to let you know what they think. And, it kind of all just comes down to, how they feel about the golf course, how they feel with their family, their personal life. It kind of just all accumulates together, and that creates the situations in which they play in their events. That's the number one thing.
Totally, for sure. And yeah, I mean, I think it'd be nice to see a Rory or someone like that get a win here, but you can't be mad at the field. If you look at the field, it is such a huge pack altogether, and I really do think that you're getting the best of the best, the cream of the crop, and really seeing some of the best guys out here, and it's unlike anything else. And no matter if you're, having fun, being immersed in the 16th hole, or you're just walking around to get the vibe of someone hitting off hole, say, 11 or 9, you're still going to get a great experience no matter where you go, because there's always a large crowd going. And, I've had the luxury of, when I've went to the tournaments, I've been to the Charles Schwab Cup, which is the finals for the senior tour, the PGA Champions, and also the Grass Leagues finals. I was able to walk around and kind of, follow different groups. And you can still do that here, but, maybe, it might be best to pick a hole and just stick there and be like, all right, I'm going to see everyone on 9 and then see everyone on X hole. So, but either way, it's going to be a great pick, and it's going to be fun. But another interesting one that we want to think about here is, you've played this before, but with a score of 23 under par last week with Justin Rose, could this be replicated here? Because your question that you threw out is it becoming too easy?
So I think that TPC Scottsdale in general is not necessarily becoming too easy. I think that you look at the scores the past 5 years, and you look at Webb Simpson finishing 17 under, Brooks Koepka 19 under, Scotty Scheffler in 2022 16, 23, 19, Nick Taylor 21 under. I mean, and then you had Dietrich last year. Dietrich, I mean, he played really well. I mean, I think that he had a great tournament, and his scores not really coming off the top of my head, like in general. Like, I kind of want to remember. It's like, I think it was 24. It was 24 under. Pardon me, 24 under. And I think that this event could be huge for guys that need to go low. They're going to have to really hit the gas and and focus on doing their best. And this is the type of tournament where the course doesn't need maybe a little bit more renovations in terms of difficulty. Yeah, you could argue that. I mean, but you could say the same thing about Pebble Beach. You could say the same thing about Riviera. The players today are different from the players of the 90s. I mean, these guys are, they work out. They're just, they got the IQ, the golf IQ, the mental awareness, of the 90s, and they're hitting the ball as far as ever. So in terms of lengthening the golf course, I don't know how much lengthening it is going to really change much. I mean, like, it'll make it definitely harder, I would say, but I don't know. I don't really think there's really like a need per se, and I think the tournament on tour. I mean, the average score from Nick Taylor in 24 to Webb Simpson in 2020. It was like 18 under, and on tour that's maybe just a little bit lower than average, but that's nothing crazy. I mean, I don't think they need to change the course per se. I think maybe you make an adjustment here, much like they did with JB Holmes back in 2011, adding that Church Pew bunker on the left so that you can't just outright carry the water, stuff like that, making the course just a little bit more restrictive in regards, because TPC, you go out there, and I mean, guys will tell you, I mean, like, it's not like you can like hit it anywhere per se, but it's definitely more open than say like Torrey Pines, where I mean you hit it in the rough. I mean it's tough to get it out. Yeah. Pebble Beach, same thing. Rough is super thick. You go to these California courses, they're gonna punish you if they miss the fairway. TPC, not as much. You can get out of there if you're in the desert, as long as you don't have obstructions like maybe a rock or a cactus. Like, you're gonna be able to get it out. The biggest punishment for this golf course is honestly around the greens with the water. I mean, this course has got some tricky slopes, especially around the greens for approach shots. And in that regard, the guys are just going to be prepared. And I expect to see low numbers this week, but I don't think they need to change too much.
Definitely. And there are some tough components here, and one could even say, and I don't know how much this has happened, but I would think, you see a lot of players, getting into thick brush at different courses and needing to take a lie, move it out, what's the word I'm looking for? The required amount they can if they're in a tough spot. And so I don't know if cactus or cacti have ever been a factor here, but it could definitely be one. It could be an obstacle, but they're all over this course. But it's quite interesting, and I think we're going to get a good week of golf and see some players, who we haven't seen in a few months and ready to just kick some butt and get ready to go and have a good week. But we are going to now play a little game here that you have come up with, and I think this is a lot of fun. We're calling it buy or sell. We have a few questions here to get opinions and see if we're buying or selling. So the first question we came up with is, will Brooks Koepka finish in the top 5? And I'll start off. I don't think so. I think he kind of still needs to get back into the PGA Tour swing because LIV does work a little differently. I would say maybe it's a little more fast-paced because they're not playing as many rounds. I know they're, shifting it this year. But personally, I think getting back to the PGA Tour and getting reacclimated with how the tour works and the new players and everything, I think it's a little, not a shock, but I think he just needs to get reacclimated with everything. So could we see him in the top 5? Absolutely. But this week, I don't think so.
I have to disagree. I would buy here. I think if Brooks is going to finish in the top 5 sometime in the early part of this season, it's going to be this event. He has a lot of success. Now, they're going back to the U.S. Open at Shinnecock where he won in 2018. I mean, they're playing courses that he's familiar with. He has success at Augusta. He finished second in 2023. But just looking at course in general, I can't really think of a golf course that fits him quite as well as TPC Scottsdale does. TPC Scottsdale fits Brooks very well. Great fader of the golf ball, hits it a long way. He can really go low. He can make a lot of birdies. He won 2017 U.S. Open at Erin Hills, which had the lowest 72-hole score in U.S. Open history. It's a course that it's a course that fits him very well. He can go low. He can play very well. Now, if he's gonna come off and shake off some of that rust, it's gonna be here. I think that the environment fits him very well. There's a lot of hype surrounding him, and I believe that he will be able to finish at least top 5. And I mean, I don't want to call him a dark horse because he's a favorite in this event, in my opinion. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised on Sunday seeing him lift the trophy.
Mm-hmm.
So for our second buy or sell, so the new 16th hole got glass railing on the sides as part of its renewable course design around the stadium. Do you think that a stray ball will shatter the glass sometime this week?
I didn't know that they were glass. If they were glass previously, or if they are, they're moving to it. But at the end of the day, I mean, hey, anything can happen on the 16th hole. Your ball can get stuck literally anywhere. It could be, I think if I remember right, like the green is kind of here and then it kind of slopes down a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so it could get caught in one of those slope kind of crevices and, someone from behind there heckling you, So you just got to be ready for anything at 16. And there's been some wild things over the years. So would I pass it? No. So I'm buying because I think it's just wild and out of bounds, and sometimes the wild and out of bounds things in life I find to be funny, and the 16th is a hole where it's highly unpredictable, and so it's a party. Anything can happen.
I actually am going to sell on this. I think that the 16th hole glass railings, while I do think questionable decision when you're playing golf, okay, this is equivalent to having glass at a Major League Baseball game. I mean, like, could a guy hit glass that's up on the second deck for a home run during a home run derby? Yeah, they can. But I mean, these guys are so good, and the stadium is bigger than it looks. I think a lot of guys think it's a little crevice par 3, but no, it's a hole that it's bigger than it looks. These guys are going to be able to slope down side to side, and they're going to be able to play this hole, I think, pretty effectively, especially since Saturday they're going to be hitting a wedge into those holes. It's a very gettable hole. I think the Thunderbirds are going to want it set up that way. You want to see action. You want to see hole-in-ones. It's just going to be a very interesting hole, but I don't think I don't think a ball is going to hit the glass, luckily, this week at the Waste Management. Now, maybe could we talk in a couple of years? You never know. I mean, we see Hunter Mahan absolutely send one, I think, in like 2012 into the stands. Ian Poulter, I think, did the same thing. So it's not like someone hasn't hit in the stands before. It's happened. But I think odds are relatively low that it's going to hit the glass.
Well, we have one more person to get their opinion with the third member of our team, Faith Wick. We'll bring her on and get her thoughts. 16th hole has a glass and railing. Do you think a stray ball could shatter it?
You know, that is a great question. I think this is a very funny question, personally. I would love to see it. I'm not gonna lie. I think that would bring a lot of attention to the People's Open, as we like to call it. But in all honesty, no, I don't think so. We're talking about professional golfers here. It's not like...
It's a cell.
Yes, it's not like it's a group of high school kids going out. So in all reality, no. I think kind of what Nick was saying, over time, I do think it will at one point get shattered or get hit. But unfortunately, I don't think it'll happen. But I would love to see it. I think it would be really funny for
it. Would definitely create headlines, let me tell you that much.
Absolutely.
It would create so many headlines if that happened.
But one other thing I do want to ask, because it just popped into my head, if the PGA Tour came to you and said, we want to add one extreme element to that hole, and they want it to be as outlandish as you can think, what would you do?
I mean, I think this sounds crazy. I would make the stands out of bounds. I think that would make the whole field so much different.
Ooh, that is good.
The reason is because a lot of times you'll see on tour, these guys, whether intentional or not, they're going to defer toward the grandstands because they're always going to get free relief from the grandstands. And a lot of times that's a bailout for them. They're going to be able to drop it in a drop zone. They're going to have a clean angle. And the lies normally, it's consistent. They're just dropping the ball in a consistent circle that they know they're going to be at.
Yeah.
Now, if you made it out of bounds and it's a full surrounding, that creates a question where it's like, look, like I mentioned earlier, is it a super tight par 3 all of a sudden, even with the stands being out of bounds? No. But it's just something that's in the back of their heads that they're going to have to think about. Like, especially when crunch time comes. Like, I mean, if someone's not feeling it, I mean, you could see crazy things on the PGA Tour, and that's something that wouldn't surprise me happening.
Yeah. What I think you do is you kind of put, maybe this could be like a one-time thing, like for just the tournament, and you put down, say, a hole and put some water around it, so it's like a moat.
Ooh.
And
I don't know how they would do that though, because they would either tear up the ground. That'd be like TPC sawgrass too. Like
yeah, we're just thinking about it, but also if you want to make it even crazier, take out the pin and make it kind of mini golf fest, so where you put like a drawbridge and you have to putt with the bridge going up and then down.
Like a greenskeeper revenge sort of thing? I mean, like, that would be kind of funny, especially
maybe
Pro-Am Day. I think Pro-Am Day, that'd be great.
Maybe it'd be kind of funny, hey, we're just thinking outside the box here. Anything goes. Like, some of this stuff will definitely not get approved, but hey, it's always a fun thought, so...
Oh, yeah.
What do you got?
So I could be, like, as outrageous
Yeah,
like put a tee box in the stands.
As outlandish as you want. You could even put, like, say, you could always get, if you want to go as far as, like, get, like, a circus out there.
A concert going on while the tournament's going on.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean, hey, that's live. That's live, to be fair. That's live.
That would
be
insane. Okay, so if we're going, like, as crazy as possible, I would say you have to, like, there'd be, like, a certain part, so, like, kind of like on, like, the fairway, there'd be a certain part where it's like lit on fire, and you have to like
flaming circle.
Yeah, like a kind of like a ring of fire we kind of got going on, and then like also with the ring of fire, somehow we would like make sure that the water, yes, there's gonna be water involved, wouldn't get near the ring of fire. I'd want like this crazy like rapid river, like we're talking like crazy river, like a crazy river with a bunch of rocks and stuff. And then also, we're not done yet, there would be some, I think it would be cool if there's like a bunch of rocks, and so like if your ball gets like stuck on the rocks, you have to like hit it from the rocks. I've done that before, it's really fun, trust me. And then the green itself would just be like in horrible conditions.
Oh, wait, do you want it way faster or do you want it way slower? That's my question.
Good question.
Or just rip it up entirely and just
that'd be kind of ugly. But I'm
way
talking.
Faster.
I think like if you made it way faster, that'd be really
Yeah.
Because then you just be like, you could see some crazy stuff on that hole, some crazy pin locations. Because like 16, even right now, like it's not a hole that has a ton of slope per se, but it does have like a ridge like in the middle. So
Yeah.
if I could show to the camera and you're like facing the green, it's like this kind of like the green slopes like this. So, like you're gonna run on the left and the right. You could see some crazy putts out there if
Yeah.
the greens were faster than what they are currently.
Yeah, and this would also be interesting too. So there was a mini golf show that used to air on ABC called Holy Moly, and one of the holes they had was basically, it was kind of like, I can't remember if it was more like it was kind of like a pinball, where basically whatever hole your ball landed in when you hit it up, kind of like as the spring per se, it would put your ball on a specific part of the hole. You could do something like that, or maybe even make it like Plinko, where you don't take an initial shot, but you hit it.
Plinko would be kind of funny. I ain't gonna lie.
But you play Plinko, and whichever hole it goes in, that's where you place your ball for your second shot to start. So one could be on the green immediately.
I think a lot of tour pros would throw fits though if that was the
No,
case.
no. I'm sure
get
they
so
would.
mad.
I'm sure they would. But I think it'd be funny as viewers, and we're just talking outlandish stuff here. Like, this is stuff that probably won't fly with the tour itself, but I do think it's a lot of fun for sure. And so the final question is, and I'm going to make this more of a question, who is someone unexpected that you think could make the cut? That like someone would make the cut and you go, wow.
You know, it's not really, it's more of a question, like it's a general question. I think the most interesting question is Marco Penge going to make it the cut? Here's a guy that is very talented and is coming off the European tour. He's, been compared to the DeChambeau. He's got one of the sweetest swings on tour. He looks fantastic. And, I'm going to buy on him. I think that he's going to do very well this week. I think he's going to make the cut. I think he's got the game that fits very well for this course. And, do I think he's going to win? I think there's a lot of other guys I'd probably give a higher percentage. Not to say he can't, but I think there's guys that are going to have a higher percentage than him. I personally think that he'll find a way to make the cut. He's a guy that has, got eyes everywhere. He's a very exciting player, and yeah, I think he's probably, I'd say, someone that could make the cut for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about him, but from what you're saying, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and buy here. I think it's really cool to see these up-and-comers and people who are doing well come in here. And, even though you can watch it on Golf Channel, a lot of people don't really think about the DP or European tours, but there's still big ways to get onto these PGA Tour events, and there's so many other PGA Tours within, say, Asia and other parts of the world. So I really do think that he could have one that is really up for grabs. But before we head into our next segment, or our next sport of the day, the question on everyone's mind, who is your winner of the 2026 WM Phoenix Open?
Okay, so I got two. I'm gonna give the question that everyone's asking, like, who will win. I think Scotty Scheffler. It would be extremely foolish to not bet on Scotty Scheffler. I think he's a fantastic pick for this week. It feels like almost every week he's a fantastic pick. He's proven time and time again he could play on any stage, any course. He's that kind of guy where his game could translate anywhere. We haven't seen a guy dominate the PGA Tour like this since Tiger, honestly. He has put together one of the most generational runs that we've ever seen. 4 years. In 4 years he's made almost $100 million on the PGA Tour. That is absurd. And part of it is raising purses, an increase in payment to the winner, and etc. That in of itself is, that's a bonus. But he's put together such a great season, and this course fits in arguably just as good as Brooks. I said Brooks does. He's a natural fader of the ball. Scheffler is. His work with Phil Kenyon is truly inspirational. He switched to the claw grip. I thought he putted honestly fine in traditional. Is he as good as what he was now with the claw? Probably not. He's even better now than what he used to be. But I think that he has taken some big steps in his game to be extremely successful, and I love it. Now, as for a dark horse, I gotta call out my boy Chris Gotterup. I think he is a fantastic pick this week. If you want to go with a dark horse, he's coming off a win on the Sony Open. His game reminds me a lot of Brooks Koepka's. A lot of like Brooks Koepka's. And I can't call Brooks Koepka a dark horse because to me he's still a favorite regardless. Even if he's, coming back. I mean, this is a course that fits him very well, but back to Chris Gotterup, I mean, we're talking about a person here that, just this time last year, no one was talking about him. And here he is, just winning the Sony Open. He's won the Genesis. He's given it a run at, in a lot of different events. He's a very exciting young player and someone that I could definitely see make a run this week.
Ooh, I love this question. So, in all honesty, for who I think is going to win the Phoenix Open, Scottie Scheffler, all the way. I am probably one of the biggest Scottie Scheffler fans. I respect his game. I love his game. I think he's a very humble golf player, if that makes sense. He, I think, is one of, kind of like what Nick was also saying, one of the best generational players we have seen since Tiger Woods. His run that he has had and has been having has been absolutely exponential. And personally, I think I have a weird feeling he is going to win the Phoenix Open. I think this is a great opportunity for him. It's a beautiful course. He is known to always play well here. And so, yeah, I'm going Scottie Scheffler all the way, but of course, I'd love to see Brooks Koepka play good because I'm a huge fan of his also. But yeah.
I like the Scottie Scheffler pick, and I wouldn't be mad with it. But just to be a little different and be unique, let's throw out an oddball here. Siwoo Kim. Let's go with Siwoo.
That's a good take.
I like that.
I like that.
Let's go with Siwoo.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that one. That one's a good one. And, I don't know if he'll win per se, but another one that I could think could do some damage this week, I'm going to go with, let's throw in Jake Knapp, too. Let's throw him in the mix.
A Scottsdale resident.
Hey,
yes.
Yes, the Arizona himself. So,
that's a great take. I love
and with that, we will see who wins the Phoenix Open, kicking off later this week. But hey, the Phoenix Open coincides with one of what some would say is one of the biggest sporting events of the year and on the calendar. That is the Super Bowl. This week we have the Super Bowl in Santa Clara, California, between the good old Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. So, before we can start with our picks, first I'll start with you, Nick. Who do you feel first? What are you most excited for about the matchup itself?
So, just in my opinion with the Super Bowl, I think that the Seahawks and the Patriots is a very interesting matchup because they met, I believe it was a decade ago this morning, last year. Or, no, it wasn't a decade. It's been a little past a decade, I think. But these teams have met, in the past 12, 13 years. And last time this happened, you had Malcolm Butler with a pick six in the end zone and Marshawn Lynch getting pretty mad, like, why didn't they run the ball? But that's the thing in the past this year, and I think that, Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith and Jigba, I just love that Seahawks defense. Don't get me wrong, I love what Matt Vrabel's been able to do with the Patriots. But if we're picking are we picking Super Bowl winners right now?
Not yet. We'll get there.
Okay. I'm interested. I'm just interested in this one.
I think what I'm most interested to see is if Sam Darnold's injury is a factor. It has come out and that he has a lingering oblique injury. For that, he suffered the injury to his left side on the 15th of January before their divisional game against the 49ers. And he did that while throwing routes to receivers against no defenders. That's according to Forbes. So I'm curious if that'll hinder him. This was a bigger situation, and with I'm blanking on his name, but the Broncos Bo Nix. Bo Nix rupturing his ankle on the knee. That's a little bit that's interesting. And
was it the ankle or was it the knee?
It was the ankle, but he did it on the knee. And let me rephrase it. He ruptured his ankle while taking a knee to end the game. Sorry if that was confusing. And so that was a bigger injury, and they had to put in Jared Stidham, and we all know how that went in the snow last week. Or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. But I do think that this is a very interesting one, and he's on his, 5th team. So for him to be in a Super Bowl after going from team to team to team, that's very cool. And, you know, I'm sure someone's going to make comparisons out there. Oh, is Drake May going to be the next Tom Brady? We'll see. But, you know, we'll see. And we need one last opinion. Faith, what do you think is one thing you're looking for?
For the Super Bowl? Oh my goodness. I mean, I would say this Super Bowl matchup we've seen it before. We saw it, I believe, 10 years ago, I think. New England Patriots, Seattle Seahawks. You know, as a local Oregonian, you know, you were to think I would be a Seahawks fan, but I'm not a Seahawks fan. I'm a Chiefs fan. So I'm going to be honest. I'm going to root for the Seahawks in this one. I love Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's a really good guy. I feel like he's finally had his year to prove who he is as a player. I mean, he's just been tossed around through teams, and he's just honestly not been treated good in the NFL at all. And the lack of respect I feel like just NFL has given him has been really low. And so I think this game is so huge for him, and he's finally made it to the big stage which he deserves. As far as the Patriots, though, Drake May, I have heard, has kind of had a shoulder injury here these past couple days. I believe he did not practice yesterday. And
he had the same thing in the NFC Championship game, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, he was like questionable before the NFC Championship game, and everyone was in shock. But it didn't look like it slowed him down. But I'm gonna let you finish your point.
No, you're fine. Yeah, so I think that could be a huge impact, obviously, on the Patriots if their quarterback is not in full health, especially. It's also his right shoulder, so that is his throwing shoulder, throwing hand, throwing arm. But yeah, I'm excited to see the game, even though the Chiefs aren't in it. It's so sad. I think it will be great still, and yeah.
And look forward to a further breakdown from me, Faith, and our boy Pierce Gordon. Miss you.
Yeah.
But we're excited to talk about that tomorrow at 6 if anyone's interested.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, don't forget to check out all the great Blaze programming with their sports content, like Bottom of the Sixth and so many of the other great programs. You can do that schedule on blazeradioonline.com. But one other fun thing to look forward to during the week is first, there is the Pro Bowl. Now, I actually have what I think is a solution to this, because a lot of people liked when the Pro Bowl was a true game, the NFC, AFC, you battled it out. Everyone loved that, to see all the stars get together. But now it's kind of being, it's flag football, you're doing these little challenges, how far can you throw a football, greatest, acrobatic catch, and, I think it's silly and dumb. So my take is you either put this, is a new game, and you either put it, say, the Tuesday before the Super Bowl, or it's the first game of Super Wildcard Weekend, and it's at a neutral site, but it's the bottom two teams in the NFL, and you play for the number one pick. So tanking is not a thing. I mean, if you want to tank for that third pick, do what you want to do, but the final two teams battle it out for the number one pick. So it actually means something, and you still have the all-pro teams, but the Pro Bowl gets scrapped entirely, and you have this other game, and, whoever broadcasts it is another story. But I think that's a way to get more people intrigued about one extra game or event in the NFL season. So, Faith?
Pro Bowl, yeah. The Pro Bowl is just something that I used to love growing up, and then I feel like over time it's just kind of, the meaning of it has just kind of gone down. It's not really a game anymore. It's just kind of more like silly challenges and stuff. And I believe they play flag football now, right? Instead of just regular tackle football.
Flag football.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
flag football. And I completely agree with you on that. I think that would be super fun, super duper interesting. It would keep everyone watching. And honestly, I would love to see that. Will I be watching the Pro Bowl? Yeah, probably. I love football, so yeah, I'll be watching the Pro Bowl. I'm excited to see, I guess, the flag football game, even though it's really not a game, it's just a bunch of players having fun, which of course I love to see people having fun, but yeah, it's really my thoughts on the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very interesting this year to watch the Pro Bowl. Well, actually, that already happened. I'm sorry. The Pro Bowl, to me, it's kind of lost its luster. I mean, I don't mean to talk anyone out, but I think Shador making it was highly questionable. I'm going to be completely honest. It's not a slight to Shador.
1,000%.
He's a young talent, and I don't want to, talk poorly about someone, that's just coming to the league, and he's had his own, media criticisms, and I'm not gonna throw onto that, but I mean, he didn't play long enough this season, and he didn't have the stats I think necessary to make the Pro Bowl, especially looking at it. And look, I mean, am I gonna fault him? Do I think it's unfair that he's getting criticism? I mean, he got chosen. He didn't actively throw himself in the mix. But I think the Pro Bowl needs to rethink its not its status, but more so its system of how it's being operated. Because you need to find a way where you can keep players safe while also making it more interesting. Because right now it's just kind of boring, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like the games that you see on Sunday, they're just boring. They're not really fun to watch. I mean, the only thing I found really funny was watching dodgeball. Them play dodgeball. That was pretty funty. And watching Justin Jefferson make a one-handed catch in dodgeball to win. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Was cool. Besides that,
for sure.
No.
Yeah.
I'm good on the Pro Bowl.
All right, so now we have some fast hitter questions before we get to our Super Bowl picks. This Thursday is the NFL Honors, where they'll announce some of the big awards of the season, like the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, Fan of the Year, among others, but some of the big ones. First, we're going to start off. I'll read some of these categories. We'll do a few of them here. First up, we'll go with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. We got Jackson Dart from the Giants, Emeka Egbuka from the Buccaneers, wide receiver, running back Trayvon Henderson of the Patriots, wide receiver Teteroa McMillan from the Panthers, and finally Tyler Shuck from the New Orleans Saints, their QB. So I will pass it off to you guys. Who do you think, and we'll start off with you, Nick, who do you think is the Offensive Rookie of the Year?
I think that's tricky. I mean, I could see a point for most of them. The favorite is Teteroa McMillan. He's a fantastic receiver, don't get me wrong. If we're going off, because he's in New York, I think Jackson Dart has gotten a lot of publicity. I don't think he has the win-loss ratio to justify it. I think he's a great up-and-coming quarterback, but I don't think he could justify being Rookie of the Year with, having the record he ended up having. Tyler Show would be a really interesting person for consideration, because he came on to the Saints and he actually kind of turned the team around. I mean, they had an awful start, and he made their season decently respectable compared to what it could have been, which was they could have been the first overall pick with how they were playing. I personally think it's going to be Teteroa McMillan. I think that's going to end up being the case. I think he had a great season, and Bryce Young really utilized him this season. He was needed.
Oh, absolutely.
He was needed, and he was a great pickup by the Panthers. So
yeah.
I'm going to go with Teteroa McMillan.
Yeah, he was an offensive spark for them, because the Panthers have been one of those teams that since Bryce Young got there, and maybe even before, that you just look like, oh, they're just the bottom feeders, one of, the consistent, faults, or not faults, but rather the bottoms. But they actually showed that, hey, we're getting better, we need some years to grow, and we are doing this, and we can win our division, which they did, which is something that we didn't think they would do, and they actually took the Rams to a test and could have actually beat them at the end of the day. So I think McMillan is a fantastic pick. At the end of the day, Trayvon Henderson I don't see as a bad backup too, due to the Patriots' success this season, and so that's where I stand on it.
Also, once again, I love this question. Personally, I think all these picks are good. Tyler Show won for sure, though, coming out of, New Orleans Saints. He's very, I don't know, yeah, the beginning of the year was very rough for sure, but yeah, I would definitely say he turned it around for them. If he didn't have that start, though, at the beginning, just with the whole team, I would say I think it should be him for sure, just judging by the second half. Overall, I think it's going to be Jackson Dart. I feel like Jackson Dart is one of those quarterbacks, kind of like what Nick, you were saying, he's a rising quarterback, rising player. I think he's basically the Giants' future, possibly their only future at a quarterback position. During those few games where they had a healthy Cam Scatterbo and a couple other players who were healthy, they were doing decent on the offensive side. And so I think if they keep everyone healthy, I think they'll continue to do good. But he's also had so much publicity, especially being in New York. Overall, I think it's going to be him. Do I think he deserves it, though, with the record? It's a good question, 50-50, because I don't blame him, obviously, for the entire record. Everyone makes mistakes and stuff, but I think his team had a huge part of that, so I'm going Jackson Dart.
All right, just a couple more here. This isn't one that I like to see each year. The comeback player of the year. Who's the guy who has rejuvenated himself? And so here are your options. You got wide receiver Stephon Diggs from the Patriots, defensive end for the Lions, Aiden Hutchinson, Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, running back for the 49ers Christian McCaffrey, and Cowboys QB Dak Prescott. So that's a tough one to start out. I mean, I'm not saying it because I'm a Michigan fan per se.
Ooh.
No,
Biasy.
no. I'm being honest. I'm not gonna say it because of that, or my uncle is a Lions fan. I'm not gonna say it there. I think he's a great choice. I really don't know here. I mean, I'd probably say Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, but what do you think, Faith? We'll start with you.
I'm going Trevor Lawrence 100%. I think this year he completely has turned absolutely everything around. I do not think Stephon Diggs deserves it whatsoever. I think he is horrible. He needs to get out of the NFL.
The allegations are crazy. Am I
Oh,
right?
Wow.
yes. If he gets this award, I might actually freak out. I don't even know what I'll do. Also, real quick, it's so sad. I feel like Dak Prescott is always on Comeback Player of the Year. He's always nominated for it. I'm so sorry, but every year he's on there, I feel like. Christian McCaffrey, he's always going through something. I feel like he's such a phenomenal player, though. But in all reality, I think Trevor Lawrence deserves it. I mean, he beat teams like the Chiefs this year and stuff, and he's honestly just really turned it around. I feel like for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm going Trevor Lawrence. I think he deserves it. Stephon Diggs needs to leave the NFL.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think it's gonna be Christian McCaffrey. I think the reason why is because he came off injury last year, and I mean, let's just be fair really quickly. I mean, let's just get the allegations right out of the way. I mean, Christian McCaffrey has been playing on a very cursed practice facility. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to get into the scientific specifics of why, but it's a cursed practice facility, all right? So coming back and playing every game this season, for the most part, and just absolutely playing at such a high level. I mean, he feels like deserves it. But Faith, I love the point you brought up with Dak Prescott. I mean, it feels like every year he is on Comeback Player of the Year. Now, do I think he's going to win it this year? No, I don't think. The comeback for him would be more so he had a better year, I guess. But I don't really think that justifies Comeback Player of the Year. To me, when I think of Comeback Player of the Year, I think of Alex Smith, who had a horrible injury. And comes back and plays really well in the NFL. And guys like that exemplify that. And I like your take on Trevor Lawrence. I really do. But just in my opinion, I think it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. I mean, shout out to him. I had him on my fantasy team, traded him. So, hot take, traded him week 12 and ended up working out. I still won the fantasy championship league. That's all I'm saying.
Hey.
Everyone doubted.
All right, we'll keep this one.
Respect him. Respect him.
We'll keep this one quick. I want a one-sentence answer to this. Keep it short and sweet. One-sentence answer. Who's your MVP? One sentence. Hold on. Before we start, I just want to say that your choices for MVP are Josh Allen, QB for the Bills, Trevor Lawrence, QB for the Jaguars, Drake May, QB for the Patriots, the only non-QB on this list, Christian McCaffrey, and Matthew Stafford, QB for the Rams.
Give me Matthew Stafford.
I'm just gonna go, and I'm just gonna say it once. Two words. Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
That's simple.
Don't say
Nah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, thank God.
Being
Oh my
unique.
gosh! Look. I love the take. That is a dark horse, but I'm sorry, man. I don't think that's gonna happen.
That's okay.
You know what? As long as it's not Josh Allen, I'm fine. I'm okay.
Okay, now, before we get to our Super Bowl picks, I asked this to my roommate a few weeks ago, and I want your opinions on this, and we'll make it quick. if the NFL said you could do 2 trades, anyone in the league is on the table, and first you can make a trade for your team, and one you can make a trade for another team. Any team's open, any player is available. Who would you pick? We'll start with you.
Well, the Cowboys have a lot of holes. I'll just be completely honest. So just one trade is not going to fix everything, okay? As much as Dallas is going to believe, we're one pick away from, this is our year. No. It's going to take multiple. You got to clean up a lot of things. Before I get to my answer, I just want to say, I think that Quinton Williams is a great pickup. I think that they need someone like a lockdown. Let me ask you something for the clarifications. Can it only be one player? Or can it be like a trade for like multiple players from the same team?
Sure. I'll be open if you want a 3-player. If you want to trade 3 players for 3 players, yeah. You won't go multi-team, but you can.
I don't care who you trade on that defense. I'll be 100% honest. Just give me Patrick Surtain and Nick Bonito and put them on the Dallas Cowboys. That would be my trade for the Cowboys. They need guys on defense that are playmakers. You get a lockdown corner, and you get an edge rusher, not even a D tackle, an edge rusher that could just. I would argue Nick Bonito's up there in a top 3 or 4 discussion best edge rushers in the league. For another team,
and you
I would just tear down the Eagles. I'm just gonna be completely honest.
Absolutely.
I mean, like that GM, Howie. I don't want to say his name wrong. I kind of forget. I think it's Howie Rosenthal. Is that who it is? The GM for the Eagles. Let me fact check that really quickly. I just want to make sure because I actually do respect him heavily because he is Howie Roseman.
Yes,
I respect him immensely for what he's done. I mean, he's made some great trades, but that team, I'm sorry, as a Cowboys fan, I'm tired of hearing Eagles fans, chirping. Guys, you guys blew a lead to us. You guys were up 21-3, and you guys blew it, okay? All I gotta say is, you guys need to stop, calm down, guys, okay? Calm down. Calm down, Eagles fans.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to keep this really short and sweet. Obviously, I'm a Chiefs fan here. If I could trade 2 players to the Chiefs, I'm going JSN from the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm going Max Crosby from the Raiders. I know, crazy. And then I'm a little confused. So it's one player we would choose to go to a different team?
No, if you were making
which team would you tear down?
If you make a trade for another team, so I would trade, say, Trevor Lawrence to switch him with Matthew Stafford.
Oh.
If you could make one trade, anyone's open, for another team that isn't yours, who do you do?
Ooh. That's a great question. Hot take here. I'm sending Kyler Murray to the Eagles.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you giving the Cardinals Jalen Hurts too?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Honestly, at this point, I feel like nothing would be okay. Hot take. I don't think anything would be gained or lost on either team. I legitimately think if you threw Kyler Murray on that Eagles offense, they would have performed the exact same as they did this year.
Okay, you're a Cowboys fan, so that's the first team I went with when I said this to my roommate. But I would trade. Wait, hold on.
All I gotta say is, Faith.
Okay.
I'm genuinely shocked that you picked Jackson Smith and Jigma for the Chiefs. Wow,
Really?
shocking choice there.
Really?
Okay, I would trade, if I was doing for another team, you trade Dak Prescott for Daniel Jones.
Honestly,
That would be
That's not bad.
No.
I mean, it doesn't hurt.
I would be on board with
would
that.
Prescott go to the Colts?
No, I'm
Yep.
not on board with that at all. Look, don't get me wrong. Daniel Jones, massive respect to him this year. Bro was forgotten, kind of like Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. He was thrown, to the wolves, and he made a name for himself this year. And I legitimately think that they would have been able to make it. All my hats off to Phillip Rivers. The uncle could still play ball. But unfortunately, I think they lost it as soon as they lost Daniel Jones. And I think he had a great year, but just saying, as a Cowboys fan, I'm gonna let you get back to your point. I would not be okay with that.
I mean, I don't know who my Commanders need. It's hard. Maybe maybe some safety or something. Not really sure who we would trade with. I got to think about
I
that.
think you guys need some like pass defense. You guys
Yeah.
need a good corner.
Yeah, something
of the
something
sort.
like that, or consistent kicking too is one
Yeah.
that we could go with too.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. So, all right. So now we'll keep this short and sweet. Who's your Super Bowl pick?
I mean, I was kind of alluding to it earlier. I got the Seahawks. I think that this is the year where they get their revenge for what the Patriots did to them last decade. I think Sam Darnold has been slept on, honestly, his entire career. I mean, he's a gunslinging quarterback. He's gotten memed on for seeing ghosts on the Jets field. But let's just face it, what quarterback hasn't seen ghosts on the Jets field? Am I wrong? At this point, like
Ghosts on the Jets.
every single quarterback the Jets have seen ghosts at one point or another. We got the butt fumble. We got we got
Ooh,
seen
Mark
ghosts.
Sanchez.
I just think that I think it's a Jets thing, and then he goes to the Vikings. Well, he went to the Panthers first, then he went to the Vikings, but he really made a name for himself at the Vikings, and he went to the Seahawks and he found a great room. He traded receivers. You think about it, he traded Justin Jefferson for Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I mean we're looking at it right now, and I think that Jackson Smith and Jigba, while a great receiver, I think Sam Darnold's a perfect fit for him. And he has a good run game, and that defense is fantastic. And I just want to say one thing before I hand it off to you guys. I don't want to discount the Patriots at all. They've had a great season. I love what Mike Vrabel's done for the team. I like Drake May a lot. I mean, I think their defense is great, and I think that they're a team that legitimately, like, I could still see them winning. I don't think it's like completely out of the question, but I just think if you take both teams, you just stack them up together and you say which roster looks better. You always got to go by rosters. It's neutral turf. Give me the Seahawks.
I mean, yeah, shout out to Mike Vrabel. I heard from my dad, who, met him once when he was at our country club back home in Park City. I mean, I think I heard he was going to join, but whether he is or not is, another story since now in New England. But shout out to him. I've heard he's a very nice guy and seems like a really great head coach. So shout out to what the Patriots are doing, but I got to go with the Seahawks. I mean, what they did to the 49ers was just nasty, and, that's all I got to say, but I'll pass it to you.
Super duper short and sweet. Give me Seattle Seahawks. Don't throw it on 4th and 1.
Ooh.
Good take.
So, aside from the Super Bowl this week, we also have the Olympics.
That's exciting.
Coming
in Milan.
Coming up this week, Milan Cortina. We kick off with the opening ceremonies on Wednesday. So, what is one sport that you're looking forward to this Olympics?
Hockey. I'm legitimately looking forward to hockey this year. I think it's going to be incredibly interesting. I mean, you got a bunch of superpowers, and it's gonna be a dogfight out there for gold this year in hockey. But I think, I want to talk about one sport. I think biathlon is going to be very interesting this year.
Ooh.
Hot take. I think biathlon's going to be great.
Okay.
I'm excited to watch it. Bobsledding, luge, skeleton. I love curling. The Winter Olympics is great.
Yeah, to your point.
Also, figure skating. I want to point out figure skaters.
Yes.
Because that is incredibly impressive what they do.
It
As
is.
someone who doesn't, I used to play hockey growing up as a kid. And skating for me was always fun, but just watching, skaters do triple axel, double axles.
Yeah, no,
all their moves.
It's crazy.
It's so impressive.
It is impressive, and speaking of impressiveness, this is a broadcasting standpoint. I love the outfits from Johnny Weir. I'm just going to point that out. His outfits are always so out of bounds and just so crazy that each night you watch figure skating, you're like, what is he wearing today? So that's one I'm excited for.
He's a fashionista.
He is, yes, he very much so is. And I also, speaking of your sledding sports, it always baffled me growing up when I learned that luge, when you're laying down, is actually more dangerous than skeleton when your head is facing forward. I've always found that to be baffling, but
Maybe it's because your back of the head could hit the back versus like when you're going down with momentum. I don't know. That's surprising.
I don't know,
I'm
but
surprised.
what I'm excited for is growing up against winter sports, the skiing and the snowboarding. There's two kind of storylines that I want to talk about here. First, as some of you may have seen if you follow the skiing industry, Lindsey Vonn had a pretty bad crash last week in her in a pre-Olympics event. She she sustained a crash last week on her final test run, and according to this article from ESPN, it says that she completely ruptured her ACL and had bone bruising plus some other damage too. And so she said after 3 days of physical therapy, her knee is not swollen, and with some other help from a knee brace, she is confident she can compete on Sunday. But personally, seeing what people have gone through with a knee injury and an ACL, especially other people too, it's not an easy recovery. And so the fact that she says, I want to get back out there and still compete at the Olympics, I doubt she should do it if she does. I mean, when you look at comebacks individually in sports, it's probably going to be up there with one of the greatest. But at that same time, health, I always feel, is the most pressing thing in this time. And I mean, the other thing is, could she have more damage to that knee too? I mean, you do also have Michaela Schifrin, who obviously, is doing really well. One of her teammates, Bella Wright, was quoted saying she's a strong mental skate to ski through the injuries. So, and she has a lot of World Cup finishes on the podium this season. So who knows to see if she's going to come back, but that's one that I'm interested in. Another one, but first, you want to speak on the Lindsay situation?
I think, it's incredibly tragic what happened to her, and I'm surprised that she's going to race.
Yeah.
I think that's a shock. I mean, look, we're at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Tiger Woods won a U.S. Open on, what, I don't know if it was the exact injury, but it was described to me at least being as a torn ACL. I'm pretty sure it was definitely something with his fibula, I'm pretty sure. But Tiger's won it on something similar. He's won the U.S. Open. Now, skiing is not golf, okay? They're entirely different sports, entirely different fields, etc. Do I think Lindsey Vonn could win? I don't know. Torn ACL is rough. I don't know. But I'm just, kudos to her for even trying. I think that's impressive to me. Now, as for the other skiing sports, and Caitlin Schifrin, I think that the United States this year they're stacking up to be very good. But I mean, the world's caught up, and the world's hungry. You got other countries that are going to come out. Canada, for example. I mean, there are countries that are out and about, and they're ready to go.
Yeah. One other I'm excited for is. So, if you are an X Games fan, you might have seen this, but over the years we've seen snowboarders and skiers do tricks that nobody can think of, are completely unfathomable. And during his post-run interview, Hiroto Ogiwara of Japan said he wants to try a 25-20 on the snowboard, and that is just unfathomable. Whether he'll do it here or try again at next year's X Games is nuts, but in these sports you're seeing the younger generation just kick butt and really just try stuff that is so out of bounds. They were trying some stuff that, yeah, they may not have landed everything, but going bold and going for it, which I don't know exactly if it's the same as X Games, but your best run counts and you have 3 runs, so if you happen to just, eat it on 2 of the runs, you can always have, other attempts. But I think him seeing that is another one that I'm really intrigued for. But this is more of a funny thing that basically I saw. One skater, I think he's a skater for Spain. The Spanish skater Thomas Laurent Goriano Sabet, he was going to perform his music to the Minions, which I think is totally wild, because you see so many different kinds of music, classical, or maybe they'll do a certain song at the Olympics. However, he did not get permission from Universal Pictures, which owns the rights to the Minions, to do his performance. And he was going to do it. He was decked out in overalls or blue overalls and blue overalls and a yellow t-shirt to look like the Minions. So who knows to see what he's going to do, but I just think that's so funny he's going to use the Minions, because I'm a person that is even if the movies aren't great, I'm a big lover of the
What song was it?
the minions. I don't know. I don't know what he was going to use, but either way, most Minions songs are really good. I mean, their version of YMCA is just from that Despicable Me 2 soundtrack.
I'm gonna say this.
That's one I can bop to.
It seems like every time a Despicable Me movie comes out, Pharrell Williams just comes out with some absolute like top tier song.
He does.
Every time. Double Life, that is an underratedly good song.
It is. Yes. Yes. And props to him for being honored at the Grammys. Aside from his Minion stuff, he's done so much in the world of music. So if you haven't seen it, check out his Lego documentary. That's right, Lego documentary Piece by Piece, which is streaming now, but that's a lot of fun. And so we got just a few more minutes here, and one I want to get to that I thought was very interesting here. So one that I saw, and where did it go? Oh yes, the NBA hosts always some fun events for the All-Star, but they have a celebrity game, and they just announced the rosters. So I'm not going to read every roster, but for each of the teams, the first team, coached by Giannis Antetokounmpo and his brothers Alex, Thanasis, and Mookie Betts, have some players such as Amon-Ra St. Brown, Glorilla, Shams Charania.
I see Jeremy Lin and Taco Fall on there. That's
Yes,
all I'm gonna say.
yes.
That is insane duo. How is that allowed in the
Shams
celebrity game?
Charania and Keegan-Michael Key is one of them. You know what? I'll just read off the rosters. This one is Rome. Also got Rome Flynn, Dylan Wang, Jenna Bandley, Cafu, and like I said, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, and also Rick
Team Red's winning. That's all I'm saying.
Chanel. So from your first group, who is the most weird person that you see on this list, and who do you think can ball out the most?
Genuinely, the weirdest people I see here are the NBA players. We're talking Taco Fall and Jeremy Lin playing in the All. I never thought I'd see them in the Celebrity All-Star game. They are going to go off in this, especially Taco Fall. Who is going to guard Taco Fall? I'm sorry. Taco Fall is he's 7'8".
Yes.
Who is guarding someone that's 7'8"?
Yes,
in this
I
All-Star
remember.
game?
I think it was Aaron Gordon a few years back. He dunked over Taco Fall in the dunk contest when the dunk contest actually meant something, and he didn't win. My jaw was like, how do you not win with something like that? And okay, my pick for someone who I actually thinks is gonna ball out, I think Glorilla's gonna ball out. I think she has.
Are we going so wait, can we count the NBA players, or former NBA players?
Yeah.
Come on, we gotta go Taco Fall.
Yeah,
Taco Fall's gonna drop. If Taco Ball doesn't drop more than 60 in this game, I don't know how much they're going to, but I'm just saying if there's a timetable.
He's gonna do it well, and
he should drop more than 7.
Yeah, my favorite part.
It should be just pass the ball to him down low. He's guaranteed 2 points. I don't know. I don't know how Taco Fall made it on here. I mean, Taco Fall is going to be overpowered.
Yeah, and with these unique rules, I'm always a huge fan to see who hits from the 4-point line, because they always put in a 4-point line in this game. But for the other team, the blue team, coached by Anthony Anderson, Lethal Scooter, and Chris Brickley, we got Simu Liu, Cody Jones, Badshaw, Andre DeGrassi, Taylor Frankie Paul, Matt Ishbia, shout out the Suns owner, Jason White Chocolate Williams, Nikolas Van T Nebergi, Mustard, or better said, Mustard! Adrian Nunez, and Keenan Allen. So, I mean, we saw Simu Liu a few years ago, and he did pretty well on this. I'm most intrigued to see how Matt Ishbia does in this game, because I think that is just so...
I want to see how Shams does. That's my most intriguing.
Yes, Shams. Yeah, Shams. Yeah, Shams is going to be very interesting. So this is going to be an interesting one, but I also want to get your thoughts on this. The NBA has tried to retool its All-Star game, in so many different unique ways, but this year they're doing kind of like what the NHL did with their kind of mini games. This year they're doing 2 teams of USA players and 1 world team. So it's kind of USA versus the world. Do you like that? And if so, how? And if not, what do you think's the best remedy to, stop the 200 points?
You got to make the games matter. Something, anything. They're talking about making money. Something. You need something to make it matter, because let me tell you one thing. the reserves came out the other day, and I don't know how Kawhi Leonard or James Harden were left off. And I'm a Suns fan, so I'm a little biased, but I don't know how Dylan Brooks was left off, because I guarantee you, Dylan Brooks would try so hard at the All-Star game, in a game where all these guys, they don't try. Let's just face it. As much as they say, like, oh, we do care. No. There's no defense played. There's no intensity to the games. You're literally just there. They shoot half-court shots, and they just, like, do little dunks. That's it. I mean, like, the All-Star game has gone downhill because it doesn't mean something anymore. These players need something on the line for it to matter. As for a remedy, I mean, like, you could go multiple options. I think one of the coolest ones would be something along, like, it affects the finals or something like that, where I heard there's a crazy take I read where the winner of the All-Star game starts with a 1-0 advantage in the finals between the East and the West. I think that would be crazy, because that would make it like an actual, like...
Wait, say that again?
It's like the winner... I saw this. The winner of the All-Star game gets the Game 1 victory in game... Well, it is Game 1 of the NBA Finals, basically. Oh, so whatever team makes it...
Oh, they're not doing it, but you think they should?
They're not doing it. I think that... I saw it. It was just a hot take. I just think that would be crazy. It's something new, and it would get people jazzed.
I think that would be interesting, but I think to
they
do
would
it,
try.
But I
they
think
would try.
But I think to do it, you would have to say, okay, whether it's USA or the world, if you have a player on that winning squad from the All-Star game, if their team makes it to the NBA Finals, then you give them that 1-0 lead.
No, you change it back to West-East format.
Oh,
the
East
conference.
Okay, East-West.
You change it back to West-East conference format.
Now.
That's how you do it.
Okay.
No U.S. versus world. And then have the coaches, like, genuinely, I just thought it was funny when it was, like, Shaq versus Charles or something like that.
Yeah, no.
Kind of like the Eli Manning and Peyton Manning thing. I just think it's funny when you got two guys that, you know, are friends or brothers, but they have, like, that little, like, you know, they have a little beef. It's it's like funny, you know?
Exactly,
like,
exactly. That friendly competition, you see it in all different aspects. But now, speaking of the NBA, this just dropped, and I want to get your thoughts on this. This is live. Shams is reporting that the Grizzlies are trading Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Utah Jazz along with Vince Williams, John Conchar, and Jock Landale in exchange for Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, and George Niang. So what are your thoughts right off the bat?
You know, I think that with the Jazz right now, they're kind of in a weird situation. Their team's in a rebuild mode. It's very apparent. It's going to take more than a year. I think that... Are they trading first-round picks for Jaren Jackson? Or are they getting picks with Jaren Jackson? Because I didn't see that trade yet, and that's a very interesting point. But if it's Jaren Jackson and picks, A+. If they're trading picks for Jaren Jackson... I don't think it's worth it. I think that is a mistake. You got to keep your future first-round picks. You got to especially keep your future first-round picks, because I guarantee you this coming season that it's going to be very interesting to see the budding superstars that are coming out in the NBA. AJ Dynabasta, the guy from... I'm sorry, I don't really follow college basketball this season, unfortunately, but that guy from Kansas who... lights out player. I apologize, but I mean they got some lights out players coming out. Cameron Boozer from Duke, another person. Multiple international people. It's a very interesting draft this season. And it would be unfortunate if they're giving up capital this season, especially for a stacked draft class like this one.
Yeah, and to answer your question, the Jazz are sending 3 future first-round picks to Memphis.
I don't like that trade.
No, and so, I mean, it's not a bad one, but it makes me kind of wonder, with Walker Kessler out for the year with his injury, does that signal that they're keeping 2 big men, or are they going to kind of move on from Kessler after this season and kind of just go with Jaren Jackson Jr.?
I think it depends what they get in the draft. If that's your question, I think it depends on what they get in the draft. If they could find a big man that they like.
Season-ending surgery for a torn labrum in his left shoulder that he experienced in November. So I think it's very interesting to see where this will put the Jazz at the end of the season, but it's one of the shocks of the NBA. And speaking of this, there has also been reported rumors that there will be that a trade could go down between the Clippers and the Cavaliers, and people are saying they swapped James Harden for Darius Garland.
I'm going to be 100% real. I think that that'd be a horrible move for the Cavaliers, just in general. I'm not saying James Harden hasn't played like an all-star this season. He has, and I know you're trying to win now. But Darius Garland is such a good piece. If you're going to trade him for a pick. Something that, like trade him for like a lottery pick, low-level lottery pick. I guarantee you can get some good stuff for Darius Garland other than, someone that, in a year or two is probably going to be out of the NBA. James Harden's getting up there in age. He's still a fantastic player, but yeah, he's just getting older. So I don't see much point in that at all. Like, there's no real worth in trading that. If I'm the Cavs, I would keep Darius Garland. I think that your team is going to be fine, when he comes back. I think the Cavs, they need someone that can fill the role of being a defensive playmaking point guard, kind of like a Mike Conley or like a
Exactly.
Holiday.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
those two, but I'm saying like someone of the sort. Like I think a really good player, legitimately, would be Derek White. If they somehow got away to
Yes,
get Derek White,
exactly.
I don't think that would happen. But if it did happen, extremely interesting thought.
Yeah, no, I think it's not the best place for him. Harden, I don't know how he would work in Cleveland, but I think there's better ways you can get a bigger bang for your buck with Cleveland and where they're going, but we'll have to see where it is. So
Yeah.
With that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in today to our stream here at the WM Phoenix Open. We will have more great content from Blaze Radio, the many great faces of Blaze, here this week here on the Blaze Sports YouTube channel. So stay tuned each and every day for some more great sports talk and WM Phoenix Open talk. For Nick Kittilson and Faith Wick, I'm Jack Footer, signing off from TPC Scottsdale, and on our respective shows. We'll see you next time.